Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Raven's Readings. Here are two more of my own stories. I'll be doing these on Fridays and P.G. Woodhouse's Inimitable Jeeves on Tuesdays. I do like writing to a variety of challenges and have done over 100 of these stories so far. You can read them via my website at ravensview.ca. Today's are both from 2012 with a romance theme for Valentine's Day next week. For the first one, we had to craft an unlikable protagonist. Mine is a bit of a manipulator. A Valentine's Gift. She shivered as he settled his cloak over her bare shoulders for the quick dash from the limousine. Shivered not from the evening chill, not from the silk lining of the coat, but from anticipation. Kathleen had known Victor for several years, their paths crossing at various clubs and charity galas, but no more than nodding acquaintances. He drove a luxury car, dressed in expensive clothes, dated a succession of beautiful women, and was now her latest target. She was from a rich family, an only child, and had quickly learned to use her beauty, wit, and charm to get whatever she wanted from men. Now she wanted Victor, but on her terms. Kathleen had seen women quickly succumb to his smoldering gaze, but when he tried that with her at a charity ball, he seemed surprised at her resistance, her continuing coolness towards him. He'd recovered quickly, praising her beautiful green eyes, never guessing they were contacts, tinted to complement her red hair. He'd persisted in his attempts to charm her, though, so finally she made his seduction a New Year's resolution. She'd begun to smile and flirt back, laugh and touch his arm as they shared an afternoon coffee at a sidewalk cafe or a carriage ride in the park. Then she'd draw back for several days and ignore his calls. He would then send her more flowers and jewelry with beautiful letters begging her to see him again, and she would relent and it would repeat. But now she'd grown tired of the game. Tonight, on Valentine's, she would give him his reward. Victor had somehow managed reservations at the city's most exclusive restaurant, but when he suggested that they dress elegantly with a bit of nostalgia, Kathleen had claimed her wardrobe was just too sparse. He then sent over a beautiful ball gown, flowing to the ground in delicate layers of green, strapless to show off her delicate shoulders and more than a hint of cleavage. She'd recognized the gown's designer and was impressed. She remembered how Victor had praised her long, pale neck, so she swept her hair up, holding it with an antique clip he'd sent her. She felt and looked like a Southern belle. For his part, Victor was elegant in the simple black and white of a perfectly fitted tux, the only color a blood-red cummerbund and matching cloak lining. She had to admit they made a lovely couple. As they walked between the tables toward their private booth, she could feel the envious eyes of all the women on her. Victor was a perfect date, picking a selection of delicious menu items, complimenting them with the most expensive wines, listening attentively to her, all the while touching, stroking, caressing her, always subtle, just a gentle finger along her forearm, a brief tap of his thigh against hers, a soft feather-like touch to her neck as he leaned forward to whisper in her ear. She flushed at all the attention, her bare skin tingling, and was soon touching him back, whispering, flirting. She was ready for the next step in her plans, so suggested that they skip dessert and leave. Soon they were in his penthouse apartment, with lights dimmed, soft music in the air, and champagne in a bucket by the leather couch. She excused herself for a moment. Her eyes were tired, and took out her contacts. She wanted to take her hair down, too, but he begged her not to, so she indulged him. She settled back on the soft couch, picked up her glass, smiled, and looked into his eyes. Deep, dark eyes. She felt like she was falling into their black pools. Time seemed to stop. She felt frozen in place, aware of her pulse beating just under the skin of her neck, as Victor leaned closer and whispered softly into her ear. "And now, my dear, my final gift to you, eternal life." The end. Did you feel sorry for Kathleen? Will she have a happy afterlife? For the second story, the challenge was to set it in a bookstore and include 6 random words. I Got Broken, Mechanical, Grubby, Backpack, Music, and Cowboy. A Zen Romance. Chuck sighed as he eased himself down into the armchair. He was sore after a long day spent branding calves. At least he's changed his shirt, so he smelled a little less like a working cowboy. He'd come to town for some snacks for the bunkhouse and decided to drop into the bookstore to relax and look for some good used books. For now, he'd enjoy the cool air and quiet classical music in the background. Danny waved from behind the cache. "Chuck, had a hard day? Want a lemonade to wash away some of that dust?" Chuck smiled and glanced down at his grubby jeans. Damn, should have changed them too. He jumped up and then looked back at the chair. He gave a quick swipe at it with his Stetson. The chair was a beige fabric, so nothing was showing. No problem. He hitched up his pants and headed for the counter. "Yep, pour me a cool one. Thanks, Danny." "No problem, my friend. In here for any books in particular?" "No, fiction mostly. I've managed to move the bunkhouse guys out of their usual trashy novels into some mystery and Agatha Christie, sci-fi classics, and they love Harry Potter. No TV, no Wi-Fi, so they had to try reading. Everyone's catching up on what they missed in their younger days." "Well, I'm glad they're liking it. Let them know I'll give them a discount when they came in." Danny smiled. "I'll know them by the smell on their boots." "Hey, they're not that bad. It's my town pair." A cry by the window interrupted them. "Damn, what did I sit in?" A young woman in pale blue scrubs was brushing at her behind. "Dirt? Oh, just what I need." She glared over at the two men. "Oh, let me guess. It was Tex there. He wandered in and got so confused by the books they had to sit down." Chuck smiled. "A nice cliche, but it's Chuck. And my apologies, ma'am. I'd be glad to pay for the dry cleaning." She scowled. "And then he calls me ma'am. Never mind, these are washable." She picked up her backpack and nodded at Danny. Where's your sexual health and wellness section? Over there?" Chuck waited until she had left. A pretty woman and feisty, but I may not have made the best first impression. "Do you think?" said Danny. "She's new, works in the dental office. Single, too, I think. I've never seen her in here before, though. Go browse next to her in that same section. Tell her you're a fragile male questioning your sexuality." "Oh, piss off, Danny. You watch too many soap operas. I'll check out the philosophy section next to it." He was browsing the shelves, several books under his arm, when he spotted a gem, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. He reached out and was just pulling it off the shelf when a hand bumped his. "Damn, I wanted that too," she said. "Oh, it's you again." He stepped back and nodded. "Yep, it's me, young lady." He held the book out. "But take it as an apology for me neglecting to change into cleaner jeans. Besides, I already read it. Gave my copy away to a friend at the last rodeo, so need another." She brushed back her hair and smiled. "I read it 2 years ago. I lost my copy when I moved here last month." She held out her hand. "Let's start again. Hi, I'm Claire. I'm a hygienist at the clinic and had a shitty day. Pleased to meet you, Chuck." "Pleased to meet you, Claire. Sorry about this shitty day and difficult patients." Claire shook her head. "No, almost everyone in town has been great, but my last customer had BO, awful garlic breath, and he tried to grab my leg. While he was flat on his back, and I was deep in his mouth with a sharp instrument. Stupid man. He won't be back. I'm surprised you didn't hear him bellow out at your ranch." He chuckled. "Good for you. But why your interest in the book? Are you into the romantic or classical side of it?" She waved her hand. "Oh, classical. I have an old Kawasaki trail bike. I love to grab my backpack, throw on my old clothes, and head out somewhere. Well, if I end up broken down, I'm good with the mechanical things, what with having 4 brothers, so it's just a matter of applying some rational problem solving and then maybe jury-rig something up. And I like the relaxed approach to life that Persic pushes. How about you?" "Well, believe it or not, I'm in it for the Zen part, and the classical approach too, and that whole search for oneself. I have a lot of time to think while I'm out riding the fence lines or tracking down strays. It's a good book for that." He handed it to her again. But take it. There will be more. She smiled. Thank you. You're too kind after me being such a shit. But this book is a rare find. I feel bad. He shrugged. So maybe we can share it until Danny finds another one. I'm in town every Saturday afternoon. I can check in here with you to see how far you are. That'd be nice, she said. He nodded. It's a date, and I'll wear my going-to-town jeans. The end. So, true love in the stacks, it seems. Stay tuned for more podcasts, either my own stories on Fridays or some of the classics on Tuesdays. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll get the next installment as soon as it's ready. If you enjoy this reading or have other stories you'd like to hear, leave me a comment. And do check out my other posts on my Substack at ravensview.substack.com. Ta-ta for now.